vehicle of a birthright citizenship case. And the questions at oral arguments were, okay, what if district judges decide differently and they aren't able to give an order for the entire country? Would a child be born in New Mexico have a different right than one in New Jersey, depending on how those judges have ruled in different places? Justice Sotomayor, writing for the dissent, says the parents of children covered by what she's calling the citizenship order would be well advised to file promptly class action suits and request temporary injunctive relief for the class pending class certification. And so she's saying, listen, if you're one of these parents who are worried about what's going to happen with the citizenship of your child, you should be out there filing so that there will not be this patchwork, that every district will have an opportunity to weigh in. But she also says, get these cases moving quickly. She says lower courts would be advised to act swiftly on these requests for relief and to adjudicate the cases as quickly as they can so as to enable this court's prompt review, saying we have not decided.
We have an appellate system. They work through the system. That's how the system is supposed to work. So the justices in this ruling today are saying it's not appropriate in most cases. It's got to go about the normal process. But there are ways to get nationwide relief. And the court says today, for example, people can file class actions where that can perhaps apply nationwide. The point is, this is about process, and you got to drive the right car to the courthouse. And here, they didn't do it the right way. So the court's saying, do this the right way, the way the system is supposed to work. That means that I strongly believe, Tony, that there is very little chance that this executive order on birthright citizenship will ever be implemented. We're going to see people right away next week come back, refile some of these cases, ask for class actions that could be certified across the country. There's a process with that. You will still have some of these injunctions in place. This is just narrowing them a little bit so that they only apply to the parties who filed these cases, not to everyone. So I think it's highly unlikely that this will have any practical impact on that birthright citizenship order ever being implemented. Tony.
All right, Jen, thank you very much. Let's go to our justice correspondent, Scott McFarland, who's been following this as well. Scott, these injunctions have been a tool of those who oppose President Trump's efforts to block them, to stop them. And now it seems like the injunctions will be limited in some way. But Jan says maybe the implications aren't going to be as broad as that may sound. What do you think the implications will be in terms of the relationship between the Trump administration and the federal courts?
Yeah, Tony, it's an important ruling, but it also comes at a uniquely important moment amid a multi-front battle between the administration and the court system, a legal battle and a political battle, too. First of all, the politics. The administration likes to be criticizing the courts. They like to have that issue to push forward their issues of the day, accusing the courts of overreaching and muting the desires of the voters who elected President Trump. But the legal battles have been unprecedented, some of them potentially destabilizing to the balance of power. Just a couple days ago, the Trump administration, in a novel case, sued every federal judge in the District of Maryland, accusing them of overreaching with how they handle immigration cases. The Trump administration, Tony, is accused of not following a court order, also in Maryland, to return Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man mistakenly deported from Maryland to El Salvador. And the battles are playing out all across the country, a legal showdown in so many places, Tony, between the Trump administration and the federal courts.
All right, Scott, thank you very much. Let's bring in Jessica Levinson. She's a CBS News legal contributor. She's also a professor at Loyola Law School. Her work focuses on constitutional law, election law, and the Supreme Court. Jessica, what do you make of Justice Coney Barrett writing this majority opinion? And a lot of people thought it was going to be John Roberts.
Well, I think it makes some sense given where she is on the court, and I think she was able, obviously, to command more than a simple majority, but a 6-3 majority. In your questioning during oral arguments, I think you really heard her trying to make sense of this case and be very clear, as Jan said, that it was not about birthright citizenship. It's not about the merits. It's about the equitable power of Congress. Of Congress to grant judges this power. And so she's saying very clearly, if Congress wants to change this, they can. She's also saying very clearly that when people walk into federal court now and they ask for relief of an executive order, They cannot get these universal injunctions anymore. Instead, courts are limited in the scope, the remedy that they can provide. They can provide a remedy of saying to the people who walked in, maybe it's an individual, maybe it's a group, maybe it's a state, maybe it's a class action, as Jan was absolutely correct to emphasize, that the court can give relief to those people. I think increasingly, to your question, Tony, we're going to see Justice Barrett, who I think can speak to all sides of the court, have some of these big opinions. And it's important to listen to how she asked the questions in oral arguments. I think it gave us a roadmap for this opinion today.
All right, Jessica, thank you very much. I'm going to go back to Jan Crawford. Jan, you gave us a great overview of the majority opinion, but you've also been taking a look at the dissents in this case. You've only had a few minutes to digest it, but what stands out to you?
Well, I'm also getting information from Melissa Quinn, who is inside the Supreme Court, saying that Justice Sonia Sotomayor is reading aloud from her dissent. Remember, the 3 liberal justices dissented in this case, even though one of them, Justice Kagan, expressed extreme skepticism about nationwide injunctions when President Biden was in the White House. Now they're in dissent, and their dissent is really focusing on the issue of birthright citizenship and how this was the case that was really suited for a nationwide injunction. Remember, though, as I said, Tony, this has nothing to do with birthright citizenship. No judge that's considered that issue has ever said anything other than it's blatantly unconstitutional what President Trump's trying to do. And I do not believe the justices would ever greenlight that to go forward. So they're saying that this is the wrong case, that this case should have been one that could be a nationwide injunction. There are a few cases, and that was kind of the point that Justice Kagan was making during the oral argument, that maybe there would be some case that would be suited for a broad nationwide injunction blocking a president's initiative. The problem with that, though, Tony, as the other justices pointed out, is that every federal district court judge is going to think the issues before them are of extreme national importance. So it's not really going to have any impact at all. You have to do something with a little more teeth to it. For example, President Trump is now facing 40 or 50 nationwide injunctions in other cases challenging other initiatives that he has put out there. So I do expect, going back to something Scott was saying, I do expect the administration to file motions to vacate the scope of those injunctions and try to narrow them in all of those cases. And they may win some of those. But I'm just saying, in the birthright citizenship case, I'm highly skeptical that this decision today will have any real practical impact on whether Trump gets to rewrite our understanding that citizenship is automatic when you're born in this country, if you're here legally or not.
You know, Jan, people turn to Supreme Court decisions for a definitive answer, and I can imagine some viewers looking at the headline we have in the lower part of the screen that says injunctions likely exceed. What's the work of that word likely doing in that sentence? Why don't we have a definitive does exceed or does not exceed?
You know, looking through the opinion, that's a great question, and that's the language that Justice Barrett uses. I think the opinion itself is pretty clear. I think what we have to remember is there are ways that people can get nationwide injunctions. You just have to do it in the right car. You know, get in the right car. You've got to file a class action. You have to file, you have a claim under a different federal law where you're seeking to vacate a agency rule. You have lived near a factory and you file a lawsuit that's specific to you, the party, but then that helps everyone if the court says no more to the pollution. So I think likely means like let's scale back on these things. There are ways to go about doing it. And Justice Thomas and Justice Alito, in their separate concurring opinion, make clear that you've got to go and do it the right way, that that's important for the process. And so like this kind of case is no. But, you know, we'll see. I mean, we've seen in some of these Trump cases, as you well know, Tony, that when lower court judges get cases back down to them, they don't always react the way I think the Supreme Court believe that they would react. But I think this one's about as clear as you can get in this case.
All right, and you're as clear as can be as well. Jan Crawford, thank you very much. Jessica Levinson, thank you. Scott McFarland, thank you as well. And just to recap for our viewers, the Supreme Court has ruled 6-3 that lower court judges cannot issue nationwide injunctions in local cases. Quoting from the opinion, which was written by Amy Coney Barrett, quote, when a court concludes that the executive branch has acted unlawfully, the answer is not for the court to exceed its own power to. but they did not rule on the merits of the constitutionality, the question of birthright citizenship. That is a case for another day. We'll be following that as well, of course. Our coverage of this Supreme Court ruling and others will continue on our streaming channel, CBS News 24/7, on your local news, and of course tonight on the CBS Evening News. Many of you will now return to CBS Mornings. This has been a CBS News Special Report. I'm Tony DeCopel in New York.
Sherry will be right back.
Macy's one-day sale is the one sale you can't miss. Get Levi's shorts for under $30. Classic summer kicks half off. Plus, sheet sets starting at $9.99. Macy's one-day sale ends Sunday.
The Dove Beauty Bar, shaped by your beauty for your beauty. Made with 1/4 moisturizing cream to love and care for every single curve. The Dove Beauty Bar, shaped by your beauty since 1957.
Things were already so difficult for my mom when she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Then she developed agitation that may happen with dementia due to Alzheimer's disease. She started verbally lashing out, breaking things, wandering at night. These symptoms were a different kind of difficult. So we asked her doctor for more help.
Rexulti is the only FDA-approved medication proven to reduce symptoms of agitation that may happen with dementia due to Alzheimer's disease. Elderly people with dementia-related psychosis have increased risk of death or stroke. Report fever, stiff muscles, and confusion, which can be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar can lead to coma or death, weight gain, increased cholesterol, unusual urges, dizziness on standing, falls, seizures, trouble swallowing, or sleepiness may occur.
I'm glad I asked for help.
Ask your loved one's doctor today about Rexulti. Moments matter.
New Purina One Live Clear was our cat miracle. We discovered Ella was sensitive to cat allergens. Then the incredible happened. Purina One Live Clear started reducing the major allergen in our cat's hair.
Together forever.
New Purina One Live Clear, a difference from day one.
Macy's July 4th sale has our lowest prices of summer on mattresses. Rest easy with up to 65% off our top brands. A free adjustable base or box spring. Plus a Macy's gift card up to $300. Going on now at Macy's.
My first guest has both beauty and brain. So for almost 15 years, she shared her life on The Real Housewives of New Jersey. Now she's all business, opening up a new store and starting a cookie company. Please welcome Melissa Gorga. You look absolutely amazing. You look so beautiful.
And so do you.
Thank you.
You are in your prime, girlfriend. You look amazing.
'Tis the season, girl.
It is.
This is like I'm in my prime. Orgasms off the chain. You looking good. It's a good season.
See, this is why we love you. Let's go. I'm wearing red. It's that time of year.
It's that time of year. And I got to say, because I know that it's New York Fashion Week, are you going to any of the shows?
Yes, of course. Yes, we're setting it all up. You know, it's always like a chaotic time of year, but it's fun and there's fun parties and you see all the fashion.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're setting it all up right now.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Now, I love this because since you were here last, you've reached a milestone. Congratulations, 20 years married to your husband, Joe. 20 years. You are doing something right. Now, Melissa, you got to tell me this because a lot of reality shows, marriages don't last. So, you know, how did you do it being on reality TV and everybody being in your business?
I know, you know, and they are in my business. Let me tell you. They're trying to find business that's not even there sometimes when you're on this reality show, right? So it's crazy. But, you know, I feel like 20 years is like amazing, even if you're not on reality TV these days.
Absolutely.
So to be able to do it in the spotlight and kind of having people, you know, critique and watch. I have to say, I'm extremely lucky. I have an amazing husband. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He is. He's such a great guy. And you know what? We just have a huge love for family. Like we're all about our kids. We're all about living, you know, working hard, living great. So we mesh well together.
See, you and Joe. I love this picture, y'all.
Oh my gosh.
Was this like when y'all were first dating or something?
I am 24 years old in this photo. This is one of my engagement photos.
You look the same, girl.
Yeah, I wish. I don't know, but thank you. Yeah.
So this was your one of the engagement pictures.
That is one of my engagement pictures, yes.
Okay.
You know, they don't do it like they do now with Instagram. We just like went to a studio. Now it's like, who knows what goes on? These people, oh my God, the baby showers and the engagement, everything's
reveals
like
everything.
You know, I didn't do all that.
And this is nice and simple. And like 20 years, I would take advice from you because y'all have been through the gamut and you have stayed together. So you know what you're talking about.
Yes.
All right?
This is my strong part. I'm pretty good at, you know, relationships and just making a solid marriage work, right?
Yeah.
And we give and take. We do give and take, and we have fun.
And
I feel like couples forget to have fun. We still date.
Okay, that's what it is. And you know, and I can see the fun because you and Joe, I gotta say, y'all are one of the hottest. You two are one of the TV's hottest couples.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Like you were saying, you got the red on. The Valentine's Day is coming up. So what is the sexiest gift that Joe has ever gotten for you?
Oh my gosh.
For Valentine's.
Sexy?
Yeah.
I mean, this had to be like, and I'm talking years and years ago, he might have gotten me a little lingerie. But never, ever again, because I was like, all right, enough with that. I want chocolate-covered strawberries. But now, I'm telling everybody, like, the cool thing to get is sprinkle cookies for Valentine's
He got you your
Day.
cookies. Yes, he got you Okay, and I'm going to talk about the sprinkle cookies because I want to know about it. Did you get him, what's the sexiest thing you ever got him for Valentine's?
What did I get him? You know, I just write like really sexy cards.
Oh, you do?
I do a lot of promising through notes.
Oh, so he can pull one out and just hand it to you?
Yes, and then he holds it against you because there's proof in writing, you know, that you say, you never put it in writing because then they like, you know.
I love it.
Yeah, I like to write. I'll write a cute little.
The little love notes.
I'm also known for like that text message during the day that doesn't add up by the time I'm cold at night in my socks and my.
So you.
He's like, but you were so cute on the phone today. I'm like, I don't feel like that right now. I'm cold.
Alyssa, you are terrible.
I'm like, I'm tired, and now it's just, I lost that mood, you know?
Okay. You got to send a note right before you get in the bed or something like right when you're ready. Like, you got 3 seconds to make good on this note.
You know, he has, in part of one of his comedy shows, he laughs at me because he says, when we're out and I'm drinking and I have a cocktail in me, I'm like, woo, Joe, look at me, look at this, la, la, la. He's like, soon as we drive home and your toe hits the driveway, you are a completely different human. I'm like, yeah, you know, it took too long to get home. I'm tired.
Well, you know who's not tired? The 3 kids.
Oh my God.
The kids are grown up. You got Antonia, she's 19. You got Gino, he's 17, and Joey, 14. Okay, so the boys are in high school together.
They are.
So, like, are the hormones raging off the hook, girl?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. I hear about girls in my house all the time, and like I try not to pay attention because I still feel like they're my little baby boys. And I don't want to know, but I always hear things, you know, and I'm like, who did that? Oh, you kissed? You don't know how to kiss. Like you don't actually know how to do that.
Right.
Like I find it baffling that they even
Girl, I think once they hit some lips, they know. I don't think I think that's a no-brainer.
They know.
They know,
They
girl.
know. We just went on vacation. We were in Aruba, and they, you know, there was like this type of nightclub outdoor space they kept going to every night. And the stories that I would hear of the fun and and I'm like, what goes on at this place? But you know, it's time of life. They're living, you know.
Is.
So I'm trying to just be a teen mom now.
They're good kids. They are.
Thank you. They are.
And you got Antonia, she's in college. Okay, first of all, I saw this meal that Antonia cooked in college. Like, I don't know what happened to ramen, top ramen noodles in college. Tell me, how did she make this meal, Antonia, in college?
She learned from the best, I must say. I taught her, that's chicken cutlets. I make a killer chicken cutlet.
Really?
Yes, and I taught her. I do some cooking videos on my Instagram and stuff where I'll teach people how to cook. And she watched my Instagram video, and she's like, "You would be proud. I made chicken cutlets," and she made little red potatoes on the side.
Look at her.
Yes.
So the freshman 15 will not be hitting Antonia. She's cooking healthy.
I mean, she's been doing better. I feel like she's a sophomore now.
Yeah.
She did get the freshman 15, but then I think she started to eat healthier and stopped going to like all the fast food and
Yeah, because she cooks like that. I mean, good. That's great.
I know, she's making chicken cutlets.
In college.
You know, like that's pretty good. I didn't learn how to make a chicken cutlet till I was like 32 years old.
So good for Antonia.
I'm like, you are doing it.
She's
like,
killing it.
Yes.
And you are killing it because you have transformed. You are really killing it, girl. You have transformed from a reality star to now you're an entrepreneur. So I got to congratulate you on opening your second boutique, which is Envy. Your second.
Yes.
Like, how much does this mean to you to be creating a legacy for the kids?
Huge. I feel like that's the biggest part. For me, it's not so much about the money and the success of it all. It's really about my kids watching me and seeing how I'm at home on my computer, how I put the time in, how I'm very hands-on. Envy turns 10 this year. 10 years.
10 years.
Yes, of this boutique.
Business.
Yes. And each year it grows and grows, and my daughter sees that. And now opening, this new business with Let's Sprinkle, she's watching all of these businesses and how I just kind of, I want her to jump on in soon.
I love it. And we're going everybody on our staff, we love the sprinkle cookies.
Oh,
thank you so much. Thank you for bringing some.
Of course.
So what's it been like? Can we bring them out?
Yes.
Here we are.
We have some.
Can we help? Let me get
hold
right
on.
here.
We
So
have
you
some
tell me,
sprinkle cookies.
what's it like having this company, your sprinkle cookies? Look at that.
My
They
God.
smell amazing.
Thank you.
Look at this.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, how's it been having this company?
First of all, a sprinkle cookie is like a feel-good cookie, right?
Yes.
They're colorful, they're bright. They're real Italian cookies made with real butter in an amazing bakery. And let me just tell you, these have been such a hit, and I honestly can't believe they went viral for Christmas, over Christmas, and they've just been doing amazing. And it's pretty great to be able to build a company from the ground up and just be able to do something like this. And people love them. Have you tried these yet? They're really good.
We're gonna get some sprinkles for the audience. We're gonna get some sprinkles for our audience because they are so good. I love. Congratulations on this. Thank
you.
I want to quickly talk about Housewives.
Yes.
Just quickly now. There have been reboot rumors, okay, but it looks like the cast has got to be cleaned up.
Correct.
So if they brought on different cast members, would there be a chance of you coming back?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think there's a chance for. We'll see. I'm hoping that we'll get some news about the Real Housewives of New Jersey sooner than later. We were told we would get news like after the new year.
Okay.
So I do think that they are working on it right now. I have some good, I feel like they're working on it.
Good intel?
Yeah, and I know they're definitely talking to bring in some new girls. I'm assuming they're going to keep some familiar faces as well.
Because I have to say this, like, I love you. I love you, and I love your sister-in-law, Teresa. And so you got fans of both of you. Would there be any kind of world where you might bury a hatchet, or is it just...
I don't think. I think it's past. I think the ship has sailed.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll see. We don't know what's to come or what, I never say never in life because I always find out that's exactly what happens.
Absolutely.
So we'll see what's next. And I'm excited about any chapter. I'm busy, by the way.
I know you are busy. You're busy baking.
I am like booked and busy. So whatever comes, I'll be happy to do. I love Bravo. I love working with the network. They're a great family to me. So we'll see what happens.
But in the meantime, you got some like amazing cookies.
Yes. Oh. We're gonna eat sprinkle. Cheers.
Oh my God, cheers.
Let's sprinkle.
Let's sprinkle. Oh, this is so good. Yo, Melissa, thank you for coming. Thank you for bringing me cookies. Woo! I love the sprinkles. For more info on Melissa's businesses, say that 3 times fast, go to SherryShowTV.com. And up next, we're cooking with actress and host Debbie Martinopoulos. Keep it right here. Melissa Gorga.
CBS 19 Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust on your time.
Here's what we know so far.
Track how the weather will impact your day.
Risk of flash flooding right across our area.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news.
We are following breaking news this morning.
Live from the scene. Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. CBS 19 Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
When you've got a lot of mouths to feed, you need a lot of groceries. But sacrificing quality? It's not happening. That's why I shop at Super One Foods, where great quality and everyday low prices go hand in hand. I can save even more on things we need most, like with their super coupons. These combo packs of meat are fantastic value.
Come on, Mom, come on.
Okay. And we're always sure to check out the Super Shockers. Super low prices every day. Super One Foods.
Important healthcare notice. If you have a constant or occasional ringing in your ears, you're needed to participate in a special program called the Tinnitus 10-Day Challenge. Livingston Hearing Aid Center is seeking 85 adults who suffer with ringing in their ears to evaluate a new device with multiplex tinnitus technology. To take part in this event, you must call. Please get a pencil. Livingston Hearing Aid Centers is seeking 85 people with tinnitus to take part in the Tinnitus 10-Day Challenge, evaluating a new high-tech device to help reduce that annoying ringing in your ears. Call Livingston Hearing Aid Centers now. This revolutionary new product is the world's first device to help reduce and mask the ringing in your ears. Tinnitus evaluations are performed at no charge during this special event for all qualified callers. Participants will be able to try this breakthrough technology for 10 days. Call now and take the Tinnitus 10-Day Challenge.
And we're following breaking news just into our newsroom.
Overnight fire in Cherokee County.
This is kind of where crews are standing out right here. But as we learn more, we'll update you on air and online.
Stream extended coverage on CBS 19 Plus.
At CBS 19, we issue weather impact alert days to keep you and your family safe. So bottom line, if we read off your city, we need you to be in your safe place. That's just one more way CBS 19 is putting East Texas first.
You're so crazy. My next guest is a 6-time Emmy nominee, a best-selling cookbook author, and the youngest person to ever be a co-host on The View when Barbara Walters hired her at just 22 years old. So she's now releasing her second cookbook, Greekish, My Best DM'd Recipes, this spring. Please welcome Debbie Buttonopoulos. Together we laugh. Now we share a sisterhood because from The View. Now I got hired on I think like the 7th season or something like that, and you were an original co-host.
Yeah, I was an OG
of the View. You are one of the OGs, but I did not know that you almost didn't take the job.
Oh, Sherry. Okay, how about this for a story? Okay, I was going to NYU. I was working at MTV. I was a baby. I was 21 at that time. By the time I got on the show, I was 22. So a friend of mine says, let's go to this party uptown. I go uptown. I meet this casting director. He says, you there. You should come audition for Barbara Walters tomorrow. And I said, me? I had pink hair. I work at MTV. And he said, yes. I said, okay, whatever. I go home. I go to school the next day. I get up to MTV at right after school at NYU, because that was my schedule. And my roommate said, you need to go to ABC. They called over here looking for you.
Wow.
And I said, what? She said, you got to get up there. Okay, Sherry, I was wearing a mini skirt.
Right.
Black knees to my boots. Some things never change. a half shirt.
A crop top.
Because I was working at MTV with John Travolta's face on it that said Barbarino from Welcome Back, Kotter.
Barbarino.
And I go to the ABC executive building to meet Barbara and Bill.
Yeah.
Our dear Bill Getty.
Bill Getty, absolutely.
Who we love so much. So he was the executive producer of The View. So I go up there, I meet them. Barbara says, oh, I'd love for you to come back for our audition in a few weeks at the Essex House. So I come back to the Essex House 3 weeks later. I walk in. It is a sea of the who's of New York City. Every famous newswoman, every famous comedian, whoever was famous in New York City was there. And then little old me, who nobody knows her name, and her last name is too long to pronounce anyhow. So I walk in, and I start to think, I'm a little in over my head. It's time for me to go home.
Yeah.
I've taken this far. I have a great cocktail story that I'll tell my friends. That's all I need. I turn around to walk out, Sherry. My hand to God. I'm walking out of the door, And I opened the door, and who's standing there but Barbara Walters herself?
Barbara Walters.
And I was ready to leave.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, baby, I'm so glad you came." She puts her hand on my shoulder, leads me back into the room, and addresses all these famous people with her hand on my shoulder, and I'm like this. Like a deer in headlights.
Yes.
And then she said, "Let's sit down and do this audition." And we did. And that first group of ladies who sat down to do the audition.
Oh my gosh.
Was
Meredith Vieira, Joy, not Joy, but Star Jones.
Yes, and Joy.
And Joy Behar, and you.
And me and Barbara.
And Barbara.
And 750 women came through there in the next 2 days. And that first group that sat down was the group that got the job.
Was the one that she picked. Wow. Look at that history.
Isn't that crazy? It just
was
goes
crazy.
to show, if I had left a second earlier or she had come a second later, my life would be different.
Sometimes you just have to stay. Just have to stay.
You gotta,
you know. But it's so funny because I know Barbara showed me, we talked about this, she showed me a lot of tough love during my time at The View. Did you get the tough love?
Sherry. Okay, well, I don't know if anyone watched the show back then, but they had to move me halfway through the season because Barbara used to pinch me under the table.
Really?
I would be sad, I'd be talking and blah, 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 and suddenly I just... And people at home are like, "What happened to that girl? Is she stroking out?" But I would stop talking because if Barbara Walters pinches you, you better shut up. So I would shut up. So they moved me because Bill Getty said, "Barbara, you can't keep pinching her if you don't like what she says." So that was one story. And then I know I've told you this story before, but I don't know if I've ever told it in public. When she ripped up my cards and threw them.
Oh, my God. You're like our cards that we would read off, our questions.
Our questions. Now, here's the thing. We are not disparaging Barbara because Barbara was amazing. If it wasn't for Barbara Walters, we would not be here.
Absolutely.
1,000%.
Absolutely.
And it was a different time. And it was from the School of Hard Knocks, and that's how she was
Barbara
taught.
came from the School of Hard
And
Knocks. Yes.
you know what? If she's going to work hard, everyone around her better work just as hard, and that's all right.
But she ripped your cards up.
She ripped my cards 20 seconds before. I think it might have been Phyllis, her stage manager here, going 10, 9, and I'm like scared to walk out. Rips my cards, throws them, and says, "No cards for you today, baby." And I said, "What? What?" So I sit down, I do the show, I'm petrified in front of all you lovely ladies and gentlemen, lovely audience, and I'm like, I don't have my security blanket.
Right.
After the show, she comes up and says, "That's the best show you ever did." And do you want to know why?
Why?
Because Barbara Walters' lesson to me was, you don't need the cards, you don't need the question, you need to listen. The best interview comes from listening to what the person said, not what you prepared.
Oh, I'm on the right track.
You learned well from the best.
Oh my gosh. And I love it because, like you said, we have gotten our start with Barbara and we are here where we are.
Yeah.
And now from there, it has propelled you. You are a cookbook author.
Oh, girl,
your second cookbook. And I know that you have brought some recipes for this weekend's big game.
I did.
So bring it out. Show us what recipes you got.
Sherry.
Look.
I'm going to show you how to cook.
Oh,
ready?
Yeah, tell me what we're doing.
These are great recipes. These are my new cookbook, Greekish. One of my favorite things about the new cookbook is I have a QR code at the bottom of every page. So if you scan it with your phone, I'm going to pop up on your phone and teach you how to cook.
Oh, I love this. So what is going on here?
These are my famous nachos. I make them every year for the big game. The key to making a good nacho, toast your chips before you put the stuff on, and then take them out and start putting them on. Nobody wants a soggy chip.
Okay,
ain't got time for a soggy chip. This right here are my
Can I grab one?
Go ahead. They're delicious.
Are you talking?
All these recipes are on your website, Sherry.
Okay.
Right here is my famous smashed potato. You boil some potatoes, then you take the bottom of a glass.
Oh, Debbie, this is good.
Right? Hold on, I'm about to get in there too. It's really good.
Oh, Debbie, this is spicy.
The jalapenos on there. Woo! It's good. It's got a little kick.
Yeah.
The smashed potato. You boil the potato, you smash it, you put garlic powder, you put onion powder, you put some salt, you throw it in the oven, take them out 25 minutes later on 375 really, because you want them crispy. You put some cheese on
very crispy.
Delish. Right here is a fancy pig in the blanket.
Oh, what's in there?
Right here, all you do is you get some puff pastry. It's delicious. You go to your local market. You get a chicken sausage or a regular sausage. This, because it's a little Greek, has feta and spinach in it. Roll it in the puff pastry. Pop it in the oven 25 minutes. Put some mustard on it. You're good to go.
What's this?
Right here. Now, this is my spanakopita hack. You know spanakopita?
Say it one more time.
Spanakopita?
Spanakopita.
Okay. So this is spanakopita with puff pastry, not with phyllo. You put spinach, you put onions, you put scallions, you put a little bit of egg in it, just like that. You
just
put
like
some,
that.
You want to help me stir? Go ahead, stir. You put
Stir it
some
around.
dill in it. Your doctor will approve of this. You mix that all around, a little bit of salt and pepper.
Oh, look at this.
Okay. Then you put it on a puff pastry, just like this. Then we take the other